Right. This is our community's house. We are all guests in it here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District of North Vancouver, and I'm going to call to order our regular meeting of council for Monday, July 7th at 7 o'clock. We'd like to start off our meeting in a good way, so I've asked Councillor Hanson to read our land acknowledgement.
We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Vancouver is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands. Thank you,
Councillor Hanson. Council, we have an agenda that's been circulated with the package this evening. Are there any errors or omissions from the agenda as presented? Hearing none, will someone please move the agenda? Moved by Councillor Back, second by Councillor Ma. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Council, we have a set of meeting minutes from the June 9th meeting. Are there any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes as presented? Hearing none, will someone move their adoption, please? Moved by Councillor Forbes, second by, I need a seconder. Councillor Back. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. We have, our practice is to preserve a period of time of up to 30 minutes at the front end of any regular meeting for input from members of the public. People have an opportunity to sign up ahead of time, and it does look like we have some people who have signed up ahead of time. In fact, I think we have 6 people who have signed up ahead of time. There's usually enough time for about 10, so if other people would like to add their name to the list, we'll do our best to get to them as well. But first speaker I have, I'd like to welcome up Stephanie Wilson. Come on up and have a seat. I will say this meeting is being held in a hybrid format. That means members of council staff or the public can participate either in person or virtually to our meetings. We have Councillor Murray is absent at the moment, but she's going to be joining us virtually coming up in about a half an hour time. But than that, we do have the full council this evening otherwise. Ms. Wilson, welcome. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I am speaking to the anti-hate pledge you'll be voting to endorse later tonight. As a co-creator alongside North Shore Pride Alliance and Councillor Pope, I'm proud to see this work presented to Council. I want to start with a story. Through work, I had the opportunity to learn about the Transgender Health Information Program, now called Transcare BC. The director said that many of the groups met quite late in the evening. I must have looked confused because he very gently and kindly explained that many of their participants were safer leaving their homes when it was dark outside and there were fewer people around. 10 years later, I found myself on an overpass in the District of North Vancouver every Thursday afternoon because a Freedom Convoy rally explicitly targeted trans and queer people. The same individuals also targeted women and people they perceived to be immigrants. They promoted disinformation and right-wing extremism. But standing on an overpass, listening to someone scream far-right talking points into a megaphone wasn't the hard part. The hard part was coming to terms with the silence. When someone is targeted by hate, silence becomes approval. You've just experienced something awful and dehumanizing. But when no one stands up to affirm that hate is wrong, you start to wonder if everyone else agrees with the hate. Maybe you're the problem. And that's the point of hate. Hate aims to make people feel alone, disconnected from community, unwelcomed, and othered. Hate-based ideologies attempt to gain their power by disempowering others through intimidation and discrimination. These ideologies say that some people are just better and more worthy than others. Hate incidents have risen significantly over the last 5 years, and hate is increasingly visible across Canada. Notably, there is rising hate against 2S LGBTQ+ people, Muslims, Asian, Black, and Indigenous community members. North Vancouver is no exception. A hate rally occupied Mountain Highway and Fern Street overpasses from July 2022 to October 2024. Individuals from that group still promote anti-2S LGBTQ+ propaganda. In North Vancouver, I've come across white nationalist propaganda, including propaganda from the neo-Nazi movement White Lives Matter. There are hate groups here, such as the North Shore chapter of the white nationalist organization Action for Canada. Silence only benefits those who promote hate. It gives them the safety to say awful things and promote awful ideologies with few, if any, consequences. The antidote to hate is a loudly inclusive community, a community that views everyone as equal, a community that understands differences are not threats, but instead part of the richness of life. This pledge simply asks leaders to use their voice and their platform to end the silence so that everyone knows that they belong, they are valued, and that they are safe to live in, work in, and visit North Vancouver. I know it can be intimidating to speak to hate, but you don't have to be perfect. You don't need to know what to say or do on your own. Just listen to those affected by hate. My hope is that this pledge will be a starting point for bigger conversations and bigger actions, so that all of us move forward together towards a community that values and welcomes everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker I have is Lee Keppel. Also joining us in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you all for pledging to be leaders and allies against hate speech tonight. I'm speaking to the same issue as Stephanie Wilson. To say that you're sending a message that hate has no place in the District of North Vancouver, and to say that you want and cherish people of all genders and orientations and skin color, and that you want them to continue to live, work, play, and raise their families right here. This really matters in 2025. I've worked for queer organizations and anti-hate organizations my whole life, most recently as executive director at Vancouver Pride. And we're losing ground out there. Hate speech and bullying and violence has been emboldened by what's happening south of the border, and it's catching on here. So we value the leadership and allyship being offered here tonight more than you can know. And we know that these hateful and harmful actions disproportionately affect racialized and Indigenous folks, as well as those of us who identify as 2S LGBTQAI+. And what can make the slurs and the online trolling and the microaggressions, the hostility and the public aggressions and violence even worse is if we feel alone or unsupported when we are victimized that way. Or to think that these actions reflect not just the angry minority, but the silent majority. Thank you for saying that they do not. And I'm also very much here tonight to spotlight and applaud Stephanie Wilson. I've done a lot of my work individually, but as you do here, it's far easier to work in teams. And a lot of what she did tirelessly over the last 2 years was all her. She literally stood toe to toe with some of the most despicable haters possible. She worked with groups to drum up support and grow the momentum. And she made sure that the language remained inclusive from start to finish. And I'm so proud of her. And I'm fortunate I got to be the one kind of chosen to speak for a number of folks who couldn't be here tonight, from academia, from industry, from street activism, and from government. And we applaud Stephanie's passion and commitment. She is and will continue to be a wonderful ally and partner for the District of North Vancouver. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Lee Keppel. The next speaker I have is Lisa McDonald. Welcome, and when you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you for allowing me a few minutes. I want to just emphasize how proud we all are of the North Shore and the District of North Vancouver, and to perhaps highlight that this movement, these anti-pledge movement or anti-hate pledges are happening all around the world, in schools, in corporations, in cities, big and small, and we shouldn't be left behind. We shouldn't have silence as our stand on this issue. Stephanie mentioned the overpass protests, and during that time, I noticed an incredible uptick in conversations in our local bars and restaurants on the street and in streetcar or like subways and transit, where people felt emboldened to speak in those hateful ways. And I hadn't heard that before. It matters when people see people being hateful, they feel like they have a privilege to be hateful as well, and it grows. And it's been shocking to me in my 15 years here in North Vancouver that I'm seeing it grow at disturbing rates. And I think it's a really powerful message for the district and for you to influence our other nearby communities to really take a hold of this pledge and set an example that we are indeed an incredible community for one and all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa McDonald, for your comments. The next speaker I have is SK Lai, also joining us here in person. Welcome, and when you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. Is there any way to run a quick PowerPoint?
Yes,
Just stick it in?
it's underneath the front edge of the desk is where you put it in. I don't know if we have some assistance available.
Only if I have time. Yep. So I'm a Mac boy, so okay.
It'll be a double click.
Right. Your worship, councillors, and I guess the unelected official is not here today. Of course, I'm SK Lai. I'm a resident of Delbrook. So just don't pay attention to that for now. I'll run that for you very quickly afterward. Now, when elected and unelected public officials not respecting policies, bylaws, and provincial law governing our local governments, that would be appalling. So I'll say on behalf of the entire country, we shall not accept nor tolerate such practice, even for 1 second. Now, I come to believe that some public officials trafficking falsehoods, engaging and possibly orchestrating a case of defamation against me and my wife with the intent to support and continue an overt intimidation tactics. Now, that's not Canadian. Let me be absolutely crystal clear. I believe anyone on planet Earth is entitled to his or her opinions, but opinions are not facts. So in your June 9th meeting, you just move to adopt the minutes. Multiple speakers, including legal professionals and public officials, making statements amount to unsubstantiated accusations, exaggerations, and falsehoods. Some consider outright lies, and I consider some to be dog whistles. Now, worse is my constitutional privacy wasn't respected. Now, it is alarming because my personal information was disclosed and my confidentiality wasn't respected. So let me just say this. Whether the public officials knowingly, that is considered criminal, or not knowingly, that would be considered incompetency. But damage had been done. Now, as soon as I found out, I have written an email to you all asking repeatedly to set the record straight. Your minutes meeting, you just approved and adopted, slightly different from actually your video file on the same date, but it still contains falsehoods echoed by public officials.
If you could draw to a close, please. Your time has expired.
Now, I know I'm running out of time. I just want to make sure that defending one's reputation is not retaliation.
Okay.
Now,
You drawing to a close, SK?
I'm just give me just 2 seconds to I just want to run through this for 1 second, okay?
Fine.
So
You've gone
their words
your
are being
time.
used loosely, Mayor.
Yeah.
When people having discussions and chats, that's considered altercations. I have the entire video for you if you like, but I pretend to personal keeping it for my legal advice or my legal counsel. Now,
If you're not drawing to a close, then I'm going to need to cut you off if you're not drawing to a close.
well, my drawing to close is
'Cause
simple.
You're well over the time.
I appreciate it, so I'm just going to leave shortly, but I am again asking you folks to review the minutes one more time. I'm leaving information behind.
Thank you.
My bus is not a bus. You're actually saying it incorrectly, and you, in fact, Google bus, and it's not a bus. So leaving you this behind, and
Thank
I'm
you very
hoping that
much.
you guys would read that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker I have, I believe joining us virtually is Hazen Colbert. Mr. Colbert, let's get him moved over to the panel. There we go. Mr. Colbert, I think you're over as a panelist. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you because I've been unmuted. Mayor and Council, I speak to 4 matters. First of all, Mr. Lai is correct. The minutes are fractured. I don't repeat what Mr. Lai says. I simply ask all of you to take a look at page 2.1. The motion to accept the June 7th agenda was not made by Councillor Little, which is exactly what the minutes read. Not one of you read the minutes before approving them. Last I checked, Little is not a councillor. I move on. I request policy to vet organizations meeting in the hall. I have noted some bad behavior from organizations' board members. For instance, it is inappropriate and not speech protected under the charter for a board member to support sexual predators, including 32-time convicted felon Donald Trump, while rejecting Canadian values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equally chilling is preaching hate against Latinos and Arabs with statements like, Israel can kill all the Palestinians for all I care, particularly considering our local Persian community. This is a zero tolerance occasion in the context of Councillor Pope's resolution and our first 2 speakers tonight. Further, there are board members who never attend meetings as required, such as a local elected band chief who has never attended a meeting of the North Shore Substance Abuse Committee, which she's on. If she's not replaced, the committee loses access to the hall. Third, with respect to the inappropriate correspondence policy, I have a way to pierce. As for the prohibition, recontact of a member of this council, I have a legal workaround. I may no longer comply. Oh no, he would never dare pierce a court order, you say? Just watch me. In the past 4 years, the court has made orders against me. With no consequences, I have pierced near every order except for a caution re a spurious allegation of threatening a judge's family member. The allegation, which was untrue, I complied with that order only because it ensured my loved ones would not face violence from the less than honorable court. So I publicly challenge you, your legal counsel and the courts, to enforce any order against me with a caution. You may not even know my real name. Apparently, neither do I. In closing, leave us in the DNV alone. We can decide when we want to water the lawn. We can decide the energy we want to use to heat our homes. We can decide where to park our RVs. We can decide if we want to eat meat. We can decide to use a bike, take the bus, or use the car. And we can decide if our dog needs to be leashed at the park. We can decide if we want a bell, a whistle, a horn, or nothing as a signal device on our bicycle. Please stop lecturing us as if we were a young child or a golden retriever. Please stop jousting at windmills and stop meddling in our lives. And finally, through the chair to Councillor Hanson, I de-escalate tonight by respectfully asking you to stop looking at me in that tone of voice.
Thank you very much for your comments. Hazen Colbert. The next speaker I have is Sahar Kitto. Joining us virtually. Yes, let's just see if there's a virtual name that reflects that. I don't see a name online that reflects Sahar Kitto. If you are, raise your virtual hand if you've got a different name up there, but I don't believe Sahar Kitto has joined the meeting. Okay, would anybody else like to address the council? If you're a virtual participant, raise your virtual hand. Anybody else in the room? Just one time in an input session, please. Okay, I see no further speakers then for public input, so we're going to carry on with the rest of the meeting.
Mayor,
Yes.
you actually can allow 10 speakers. I just want one more minute.
Nope. Our policy on public input is one opportunity per speaker. I actually went way over your time already, SK. So I'm not gonna allow an additional speaking time in line with our policy. Okay, so I'm gonna carry on with this evening's meeting. And so the next item up for discussion is the delegation. If you're gonna interrupt the meeting, SK Live, we will. We will. You've already been given additional time to speak, and we've been very accommodating. Okay, so tonight we're going to be starting the meeting with the delegation, and so tonight we have the Sally Livingstone and the Spectrum Mothers Support Society joining us here for a delegation, and welcome. Come on up. I will say a delegation is different from normal public input in that it's an opportunity for an organization in our community to come and give a presentation, therefore a 5-minute opportunity for their presentation. And then after their presentation, council is allowed to ask some probing, clarifying questions. And so hopefully there's a bit of a discussion afterwards. But welcome, you have 5 minutes to present to the council.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Wendy Brown, and I'm the president of Spectrum Mothers Support Society. I volunteer alongside 4 other board members. I think you all have a copy of our community impact report from last year, but I'd like to thank you for your support of annual grants over the past 15 years, and also to inform and update you about what we do. We are a simple, direct, effective, small nonprofit that supports new mothers in crisis across the North Shore. I'm here with our founder and executive director, Sally Livingstone, who will explain in greater detail the work that we're doing. When Sally first started Spectrum about 17 years ago, I remember the District of North Vancouver was one of the very first grants to get this organization started. So we thank you for that. About 5% of our donations come from municipal grants, and the rest comes from North Shore residents, North Shore community groups, faith communities, and some corporate donors. Sally is a pediatric nurse by training. She is the mother of 2 children. She has been fostering children for 40 years. She also taught the medical office assistant program at Capilano College for many years. We are both residents of the District of North Vancouver. We both raised our families here as well. Sally saw the need in our community for new mothers here who were without any kind of family support. And so she developed a relationship with public health nurses and over 20 referring agencies who could identify new mothers in crisis. She then put a paid caregiver into the home of that mother for about 4 to 6 hours per week over a period of 6 months to a year to support whatever that mother needed so she could overcome her challenges and her children would stay with her. The impact of the one-on-one encouragement from an older mom to a brand new mom that was in isolation has been incredible. Today, we have 12 paid caregivers providing the support. And this is Sally Livingstone here just to provide a more detailed picture for you of what we do.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. So what started as a simple gesture of helping one mum with postpartum depression and no support from family or friends has grown into a vital resource for families on the North Shore. Last year, we supported 84 mums and 139 children. Not counted in the statistics, but of significance are the number of partners and spouses we help. They're often the ones who have to bear the weight of the family responsibilities during times of crisis. These referrals also included 11 sets of twins. So I'm not quite sure what was in the water in North Van last year, but we had lots of twins. Referrals are complex and at the same time very simple. Mothers in crisis struggling to care for their children. Most referrals have significant postpartum depression or other mental health challenges, complicated by financial stress, housing needs, medical concerns, abuse, addiction, social and cultural isolation, and all are in overwhelm following the birth of a baby. We work alongside 20 agencies who refer to our program that include GPs and pediatricians, social workers, public health nurses, family services of the North Shore, crisis service of the North Shore, together with St. Paul's Hospital, reproductive medicine, and the RCMP victim services. Caregivers are the heart of Spectrum. These are women who've raised their own families, walked the walk of parenting with all its ups and downs, and allowed their hearts to grow with a desire to support other mothers in our community. They connect with the mothers one-on-one in the home and come alongside to offer support and friendship. This can look like holding a newborn while mum naps, taking a toddler to the park, or sitting and listening, creating a safe space for the mum to talk. We also accompany mums to medical appointments, encourage them to reach out to other community resources when they're ready. Having help that is consistent, reliable, and trustworthy means so much to these mothers in crisis. Prevention before intervention. Being able to provide early, optimum support for mothers supports our goal of healthy families and healthy communities. These mums are so brave and courageous and are often managing life crises as well as everything that comes with having a newborn. Referrals this year already surpassed those of last year, and we are encouraged that we are able to continue to provide an essential resource to the North Shore. And we want you to know that your grants have resulted in hundreds of families being directly helped with a simple, direct, and effective support, preventing a crisis from worsening. So thank you, and we look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Wendy and Sally. We do have some questions from council. So Councillor Back, will you move a motion receipt?
Sure, I'll move receipt of the report.
Councillor Hanson, will you second that? Thank you. Councillor Back, your comments, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Little. Thank you very much for your presentation here tonight. I do have a friend who's worked with your organization in the years, and so I was familiar with Spectrum a little bit, but I was struck by some of the numbers in your report that you've helped 139 children last year. That's a huge number, including 11 sets of twins, which is that's a lot of twins on the North Shore. I'm just wondering if you can identify beyond funding what some of your biggest or what your biggest challenge might be, and maybe something that some other way that we might be able to provide some help. Is it volunteers, or is it space, or what have you?
Well, we want to see this organization continue well into the future. And so we are looking for more board members. That is a volunteer position. We do not have volunteer caregivers. All of our caregivers are paid. And so through word of mouth, generally, we find the majority of our caregivers. The one big picture vision that we have had, that Sally has had for many years, is that we would have a crisis nursery here on the North Shore. We had a board member from Calgary who worked and volunteered at the Calgary Nursery. There's one in Edmonton, there's one in Saskatoon, there's one in Ottawa, there's many in the States. And it has been a fantastic respite for a brand new baby to be able to go to for up to 72 hours. It usually starts with someone donating a house, and from there, these programs have developed into additional life skill trainings and things for the moms in crisis. So that's probably a very big picture, big dream goal we would have. Right now, our caregiver program is so effective that it's really our nuts and bolts of what we do. So it's mostly board members that want to come on board right now, and Sally will be looking for retirement next year probably. So we just want to see all the goodness that she's done all these years be able to continue well into the future.
Thank you. Well, I can see why you're such a wonderful resource for families across the North Shore. So thank you for the good work that you have done and continue to do. And you've given me some ideas there how we might be able to help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Back. Next, I have Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation today, and of course, for all the good work you've done in the community. One of the issues this council gets drawn into from time to time is childcare and applications to expand childcare spaces, including childcare spaces for toddlers and infants, and we hear various points of view about it. I wonder if you could speak on your behalf and shed light on behalf of the community as to the need for childcare, particularly for infant and toddler childcare in the district. That could be of use to us. Thank you.
So anyone with children know that you have to put your child on the wait list the minute they're born for any kind of daycare. And if you can imagine the moms we have, they're in crisis. These are women who can barely make it to the front door, let alone trying to fill in forms or look for daycare. So one of the things we see is that when the child comes to a year and they're actually doing much better, they have no childcare. So there's a huge need for that, for our low, not just our low-income families, but mums who have come through crisis and now want to get back to work. So yes, it's something we've looked at a lot over the years. We've worked with Harvest Project and what's the cultural centre called now? Impact North Shore, and other organisations who've been looking for some kind of childcare as well. But it's all space and it's all money and that kind of thing. But yeah, there's a huge need. When we would get our crisis nursery, then we would run a daycare after that as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Mong.
Thank you very much. When I read through your material, I just want to say thank you. I have a lot of friends that have young kids, teenagers, and it's good to know that organizations such as yours is out there to support them. And I noticed a lot of the photos on the website tend to be of younger kids, but I was glad to read that, your organization is helping with dealing with older moms, teenage pregnancy, and drug addiction recovery. And as you mentioned earlier, Wendy, social isolation is still a huge issue out there, and we need to do more to address that, to build that vibrant community. I just have one question. When you list these referral partners, is it a two-way referral? Do they, I'm assuming they refer to you, but do you also refer clients back? Like, how does it all work?
Yeah, so we require referral. We require a mom to refer to us because we're not the only eyes on the first line of support for mums. We're a support, so we want to make sure these mums have wraparound services. So we ask for a referral, and also we have a go-to person to go back to if we find a mom is struggling. And yes, we do refer back Harvest Project or public health nurse, anybody. So yes, it is two-way. We have a great relationship with all of these organizations. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for all of the good work and the important work that you do on the North Shore. I have a couple of questions, and one of them is that I know for sure the ministry has emergency homes for babies, but they do rely on foster the foster parent system for that. Is it because there's a shortage of that you need the baby nursery?
Well, so we want prevention before intervention, so that we want to stop these babies going into care. And I can just tell you a couple of really quick stories. One of the babies that I had in my home as a foster baby came to me because mum lost her housing. I'm losing my voice. Sorry. Okay, thank you, thank you. This little girl that came to me came into care because her mum lost her housing. And so she had nowhere to live, and so the baby was removed, and she never got that baby back again. But I know maybe she wouldn't have been able to care for her 24/7, but she could have had a relationship with that child if we had been able to support her. Another mum who turned up at Lionsgate Hospital emergency, threatening to hurt her child. Mum was put in the psychiatric ward, child went into care, never got her child back. And that mum said, I just needed help, I had nowhere else to go. So that's what we're about, and I'm passionate about that, about preventing the crisis. So the more we can do. And the crisis nursery, again, would be prevention. Because what happens, I've been a foster parent a long time, and these children come into care, and it's literally, can you take another child? We're so short of spaces, right? So often they get placed in a situation that isn't maybe ideal for them, but it's all that we can offer. So we want to prevent that happening.
Interesting. Thank you for that explanation. I really love that you have a policy of paying for the caregivers instead of relying on the volunteers, and I could see why that would be needed.
Yeah.
I wondered if you gave us a few examples just now of what might occur why women needed emergency for babies, but is there like a typical woman or mom, or what do you see mostly?
So we talk about more senior mums. We had two 50-year-old first-time mums this year.
Wow.
So the mums, they range from like 18 to 50, right? When I started, I thought that we would be focusing on single mums, unexpected pregnancy. But I learned very quickly it's any mum, because they may look as if they have support, but the mum doesn't feel that. So we go in to meet that mum where she feels she needs support, right? So it's any mum that we can help. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
It just leads me to asking, so that's grown over the years, the need.
Oh, yeah, and there's no typical, it's like when I hire a caregiver, I can't give you a job description because no two families are the same. And that's the beauty of it. And when I receive the referrals, I get the sort of immediate information. Once the caregiver goes into the home, sits down with that mum and listens, then it all comes out. And then we find out what's really going on. And so it's everything postpartum, even if they're not referred for that, over 70% have mental health, right? Last year we had a mum who had cancer, who sadly died. We have ones who have spouses with cancer. Just any kind of crisis that you can imagine a mum going into. And what's interesting too, since COVID, is that what we might think is basic parenting, you've got a mum and a dad and a newborn, but they're not coping. Since COVID, we found this isolation.
Yeah.
Social media, it doesn't help either. Like, you've got to be the perfect mom. Well, no, so yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Forbes.
Am I on?
You're good. Go for it.
Thank you so much for what you do. I just, having had some friends go through life with some difficulties that they faced, it sometimes takes that one-on-one conversation in a safe place, which you say meeting them in their home, and then you find out the true story of what's going on behind. And it also is a problem because they don't know where to turn. And so they often maybe make a step that in the end is going to have lifelong consequences to them. So I really appreciate what you're doing there. I just had a couple of questions. For the number of caregivers that you have, 6 paid ones, how do you decide how much clientele you're going to take on?
Good question. We have 12 paid caregivers right now. And some of those caregivers just have one family, because when we ask them to commit to a family for 6 months, because that's something that's also really important. It's the same person. So they build this really good relationship, right? So, and it's more full-time. But because of the situation, I don't like our caregivers to have more than 2, maybe 3 families, because it's a lot of work, emotionally as well, right?
So to get through as many families as you're saying that you've serviced, is that over more
Over a
than
year.
a 1-year
Yeah,
period?
yeah.
Okay.
So some only stay with us for a month. Maybe mom had a cesarean section and she's already got 2 toddlers and she just needs short-term help. And some it's 2 months, 3 months. Some we could keep forever. So they do, yeah.
Service would be really helpful too, to people who don't have family
Exactly.
where they live.
Yeah, exactly.
You become their family and
Absolutely.
the person that,
Yeah.
that listens to them.
Yeah, so my goosebumps phrase, as my mum said, the help I received from Spectrum was life-saving. My relationship with my caregiver, life-changing. And that's still gives me goosebumps because that's what we do. They have a friend and you meet them and you see them in the community and they're thriving like it's just so good. Yeah.
I think you've answered all my questions but without me asking them all. So thank you again.
One thing to that, Councillor Forbes, when you said the one-on-one and in the home, when Sally first started, I remember she investigated, like she doesn't want to reinvent the wheel and duplicate what someone else is doing. But there are services for moms that you can go to, but there was nobody going into the home. And we know that we can all present really, really well. But when you get into our homes, you really see how how a person's doing.
We really are.
Right. I mean, that's, at the end of the day. So that's when she had this and really started this trial of herself going into the home and meeting with a mom in crisis one-on-one and finding out the story and realizing, oh, she's just in isolation. This is her only problem, because the superpower is motherhood, right?
Yeah.
Women rise up, and they don't just rise up, they rise up for themselves, their children, and usually the neighbors, right? And then, so it's that beautiful heart of a mother that if you just give them a little bit of support, you just see them absolutely thrive, as well as their kids. So that was what led to Sally doing it more and more. And then it became non-volunteer. It was like, this is a worthy job to pay. And so we started fundraising, and then she got charitable status and incorporated, and here we are today, all these years later. And thank you for your support over all those years. As I said at the beginning, it was the district person in that chair there that Erica replaced that really saw the value that Sally was speaking to and gave us our very first grant. So we're just very thankful tonight and appreciate your time.
All right, well, thank you very much. I don't see any further speakers. We have the delegation has been moved and seconded. Call the question on the matter. All in favor of receipt? Contrary minded, motion is carried. On behalf of the council, thank you so much for what you do in our community, and we really appreciate you taking the time out today.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
All right, council, we're resuming with this evening's agenda. And so moving on to, there is no release of closed meeting decisions, no committee of the whole reports. Moving on to section 8, reports from council or staff. The first item up for discussion, 8.1, well, it's not actually up for discussion, is bylaw numbers 8746, 8747, short-term rentals and bed and breakfast. So this item is returning back from our discussions at second and third reading. It is not up for debate, it's up for adoption. And so I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Hanson, second by Councillor Ma. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried, and that is now adopted. Next item is 8.2, 2025 community service grants. And I do believe we have some quick comments from staff. Yes. Wasn't sure, Ms. Atfa, your opening remarks? Go ahead. Yeah. We're going to get your microphone on there. There you go.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The report before you this evening are the recommendations of the Community Service Advisory Committee and the recommended 2025 community service grants. The committee is comprised of 13 district residents that were selected for their interests in social issues and community well-being. They, the volunteers, provide an important service to the district by reviewing community service grants applications and making recommendations to council on grant funding applications. I would like to pass the floor to Planning Staff and Committee Liaison, Erica Branson, to provide highlights on this year's grant recommendations.
Ms. Branson.
Thank you. So good evening, Mayor and Council. The report tonight recommends that Council approve 411,611 in community service grant fundings for 2025. The funding includes support for 20 new applications and 24 organizations entering into the second year of their 2-year funding cycle. This year's report introduced a new section outlining the impact of these investments, analyzed across 5 different key areas. It also summarized the applicant's observations and the emerging trends in community. The committee conducts a thorough review of each application to prioritize funding where it will have the greatest impact. Decisions are made with care and recognize that these grants play a very vital role in supporting agencies that deliver essential services and very critical community needs. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Branson. Hey, council, your direction, Councillor Ma, you have a motion?
Sure. I move the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Pope, you're second in the queue. Would you like to second it? Thank you. Councillor Ma, your comments?
I've been a member of CSAC and know the hard work and hours put in by the dedicated volunteers in assessing the grant application. I want to take this opportunity to thank Erica for her guidance that she provides to the committee. It's invaluable. At the same time, I'm concerned but not surprised about the emerging trends. The report talks about financial pressures that all families are hit by, the increased issues about food security, mental health, and housing, and then the workforce challenges. The cliches, there's no simple answers, but I'm thankful that there are nonprofit organizations out there meeting these needs, such as tonight, the Delegations, Spectrum Mothers Support Society. And I'm glad that the district can help in a small way by providing these grants. So I'm happy to support the staff's recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pope, your comments, please.
Yes, thank you very much for all the work on this report and to the committee for their work. I'm actually curious about the process used to screen some of the applicants and verify their information and that sort of thing. Is that something you can answer?
Ms. Branson?
In terms of the general eligibility criteria in the beginning for, or in terms of for recommendations
of their own information and what they do and who their funders are and all of that. Is that?
So in terms of the process, so the beginning stage, there's eligibility criteria that staff would review, that they're a nonprofit in good standing, that they meet the criteria of what can be funded and not funded. So that would be step 1. And then those applications are then provided to the committee. And we use an online platform submittable for each of those members or each of the committee members to evaluate. And there's 12 criteria that we use. So each one of the applications is vetted based on the 12 criteria, 6 of those coming from the corporate policy, 6 of those coming from the goals and guiding document or goals and guiding principles document. And then after all the individuals have made their individual recommendations, we meet as a committee and they determine the recommendations as a group. And so those would be vetted by the 12 committee members and then also staff that would be reviewing the information that's provided.
I'm just asking because although there are many, many groups on this list that are just absolutely phenomenal organizations, I definitely question some of them. And when we're, not giving some of them as much as I would like to see give this year, and that it's being, the amount that's available is being spread around even more. I think it's important to start looking at that and verify. I happened to call one of these organizations today and just to ask what they did and if they provided, what they were saying on the website and all of that. And I was just an anonymous person. And it turns out that actually I was referred to Hollyburn and Harvest. Those are their partners that they work with, because anyway, the point being that I just wonder about the vetting of actual, or the verifying of their actual information.
So each of the applicants also submit an annual accountability form. And so they would address how the funds had been spent and provide the financials and annual report, strategic plan, that type of information. In terms of the vetting of whether or not the information is true, we don't go so far as to call an agency or determine. I would say, in reference to Councillor Ma's previous comment, I would say that we do, I've worked in the nonprofit sector my entire life at United Way before this. I'm very familiar with most of the agencies, if not all of those agencies. So I will often say to the committee members, consider who they're mentioning as partners. How are they showing up in the community? What what other initiatives are they a part of? So I think one of the reasons to move this year's report to adding in the section where we were showing the investment into the 5 different categories is for us to be able to move forward to see who we're funding and why, and what is the investment in each of those areas. And I think that will allow us to get closer and closer to putting the dollars into those agencies and into the programs and services that we're wanting to spend. But it's difficult to, we don't have that manpower to fact check like you did, to say, is what you're submitting in an application or in an accountability form truthful or accurate? So we have to go with based on what's provided in those forms.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. For 15 years, I sat on the Victoria Foundation's adoption committee, and we used to give out grants. So I'm used to that kind of a process and how it works. So those are my comments. I just wanted some clarification on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pope. Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to the staff for all their good work. Thank you to the committee as well. I know it's painstaking, as we've just been described right now. This is the 11th time that I've voted in favor of these community service grants. I'm always struck by the amount of good work that's done for our community by these organizations at a relatively low cost to us. I think this is a very good value for $411,000. So thank you to everyone involved for bringing out this service to our community.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say thank you to staff, and as well, thank you to CSAC committee, because going through more than 44 applications to end up with just 44 is an awful lot of work. And I know that the committee and staff do diligently try to check as best they can the details. So I want to really thank you for that. I just had one question. I realize in all the times that I voted for the grants, we're going around, Jordan. In all the times that I voted for the grants, I never really asked what the criteria was when something moved into a 2-year grant, not just 1 year, but a 2-year. Is that based on the amount of funds that they're asking for, and you're trying to spread it over 2 years because we don't do that high a grant in 1 year? Is that part of the criteria?
No, I think that it was, and I'd have to confirm, it was either in 2014 or 2016, where the decision had been made. The committee, because they were reviewing upwards of, let's say, 60 applications, and it was a lot of work, the decision was to go to a 2-year granting cycle, so that we would see one cohort in year 1, and then they would get funded again for the same amount in their second year, and a second cohort that was coming in to have less less applications each year. And also, when I had done a review when I first started about 5 years ago and looked at all of the applications that we'd had over, I think, about a 15-year period, we know these partners very well. We see a couple of new applications or a couple of new agencies that come in, but otherwise, for the most part, we know many of these agencies. So having them provide an application on a yearly basis is quite a bit of work. So allowing them to have that 2-year year is sort of giving them a little bit more flexibility, because they're also applying to the City of North Vancouver for some of them, the District of West Vancouver for some of them. So this gives them a little bit less administrative burden, and also less administrative burden for staff and also for the committee, so that they can spend a little bit more time on the applications that are coming in that year.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see no further speakers on the matter. I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried, and I think fair for me to say on behalf of the council, thank you to CSAC for the work that they do to jury the different grants. It's a difficult job to do when you have so many needs in the community. Okay, moving along to item 8.3. This is the 2025 child care grants. And I do believe we have just some opening comments. Jaden.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report before you is in our recommendations of the Child Care Committee on the recommended 2025 child care grants. The committee is comprised of 5 district residents that were selected for their interest in supporting quality child care in the district. These volunteers provide an important service to the district by reviewing child care grants applications and making recommendations to council on grant funding applications. I would like to pass the floor to our staff, Jaden Coop, to provide highlights on this year's grants recommendations.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the public. 20 applications are recommended for childcare grants funding this year, totaling $69,550. Grant requests include funds for staff wages that are linked to specific roles and programs, improvements to indoor and outdoor spaces, purchasing new equipment, and childminding services. One example I'd like to highlight is Spectrum Mothers Support Society, who was our delegation this evening. They regularly apply for our child care grants program, and as you heard, they offer childminding and respite to mothers who are in crisis. This year, their requested funds would go towards wages for the caregivers who provide in-home support for mothers. Thank you for your time, and I will welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I see we have a few. Councillor Forbes, is that from before? Is that on this item? Okay, Councillor Ahmad, you have a motion?
Yes, I support the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the staff recommendation? I'll second. Go ahead, Councillor Ahmad.
Thank you for the report. I asked for some information earlier, just on numbers, and I was surprised as of July 2nd, there's over 4,600 childcare spaces in the district. 65% are provided by for-profit, and 35% this third or by nonprofit, and there's about 20 organizations. So there's definitely a need in our community. So like once again, I'm glad that the district is doing a small part in providing these grants. I do have one question with the provincial governments, or I'm not sure where it's at, but the $10 daycare. What kind of impact has that had? Are there more providers, less providers? Like I just wanted to try to understand what's come from that policy.
I don't think that we've seen necessarily new providers with the $10 a day as an example. Although we do have some, I would say, like Parkgate Society that will be providing the childcare in the new Sealand Community Center. They're unable to apply for the $10 a day in their first year because you have to be operating for a year before you can submit that application. So that's very unfortunate for the society. I'm sure that there's families there that's tough to be operating for a year before. I would say the majority of the nonprofits are slowly but surely putting in the applications for the $10 a day, but it's not an easy process for many of them, and I think it's a lot to be considered before they see how they can maintain their successful program within that new model. For example, Capilano University, their childcare center, that's a unionized environment, the $10 a day, it took them a long time to negotiate with the province, a model that would allow them to continue to pay their staff the wages within their union agreement. So I think there really is a push for a lot of those nonprofits to be going towards $10 a day. But I would say even more so than the push towards $10 a day is a push towards universal childcare. So whether that is a $10 a day model, that could be one, but it's more around the vision of universal childcare. Because I think that there's still a long way to go for some of those for-profit organizations to be able to participate in the same way with some of those provincial programs.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I see no further speakers on the matter. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next item is a council report. And so I'll give the floor to Councillor Ma and we'll get your recommendation. We'll get it seconded and then you can have some discussion. So
Okay. Once again, I support the staff's recommendation.
it's being moved by Councillor Ma. Is there a seconder on the matter? Seconded by Councillor Forbes. Councillor Ma, your comments, please.
Thank you, Mayor Little. During this past May and June, when we were waiting for our property tax notices, many people I spoke with weren't aware that their tax information was also available in digital format through the district's website. Currently, this over 2/3, about 69% of people still get paper copy of their tax notices, and only about 10% of taxpayers exclusively get digital copies. This campaign will hopefully improve customer service for residents while at the same time identifying ways to cut costs for the district. And we're hoping for a win-win situation. Homeowners, of course, can still continue to receive their notices by the mail in paper form, but we want to give people the option and take advantage of evolving technology. And I hope council will support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Forbes is a seconder. Do you have any additional comments?
Just a couple of comments. I'm in favor of this, but I've always said that we need to at least provide a way for people who don't have computers or for the elderly people who don't know how to work computers and don't want to start learning at their age now. And I've also personally been harassed by banks because the banks want to not send statements. And every time you go to sign into your bank, they hold you up with questions and you have to say not now, later. So I think it's really important. I mean, if somebody clicked on the not now, later, and then the bank just defaulted to sending it out. So I just would like to make sure that if we bring in this type of a program, that we have a really strong default that doesn't just roll over into something that the consumer, the client doesn't want. But other than that, I think this is a really good way to organize and get everything in one spot. Thank you.
Thank you. My question for finance staff would be, what are we doing already and what's been working and what would you recommend?
Thank you, Your Worship. The staff have already made progress, as Councillor Ma indicated. We've got approximately 30% of residents currently receiving their tax notices online. There's more that we can do, especially now that we've separated the utility bill. And there are other ways to leverage, even if residents want to receive that paper bill, they could elect to receive paper and electronic. And then that would allow us to improve communications in other ways as well and get them used to receiving e-bills. So there are things, we have done a number of things, but there's more that we can do, and we're certainly happy to report back, including working with the technology department and communications to try to increase the rate that it's currently performing at, which is about 30% of notices.
Thank you. All right, I see no further speakers on the matter. Fair to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Okay, and the last report for this evening is also a council-generated report. Councillor Pope, will you make your opening recommendation? We'll find a seconder and then we'll have the discussion.
Yes, I would like to move the motion for council to endorse the anti-hate pledge.
Thank you. I see Councillor Back is the next on the list. Would you like to second? Thank you. Councillor Pope, your comments, please.
Thank you very much. This pledge is about something that affects all of us. It reaches into our schools, our workplaces, our neighborhoods, and sometimes even into our own homes. Hate. Hate doesn't always show up in news headlines or protesters with banners on a highway overpass. Sometimes it's a slur shouted from a car, a racist tirade on a bus, or a troll on social media. As we heard earlier tonight, sometimes the worst is the silence that follows when we fail to speak up. But hate in all its forms erodes the foundation of any strong community. And that's why it's so important that we as councillors in the District of North Vancouver take a stand and support this anti-hate pledge, a public, proactive commitment to stand against all forms of hate. Our community will celebrate Pride Week at the end of the month, a time when we honor 2SL LGBTQIA+ members of our community, our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, our family. Pride is more than a celebration. It is a reminder of a history marked by struggle and resilience. It is a declaration that love is love and that everyone, regardless of who they are or who they love, deserves to feel safe, respected, and valued in their own community. And yet, even as we prepare to raise the rainbow flag across the North Shore on July 28th, we know that hate still lingers. In BC, hate crimes against queer and trans people have been rising. Online harassment is escalating, and many in our community still do not feel safe about being their authentic selves in public. It's not acceptable, and this is not the North Vancouver we believe in. This anti-hate pledge gives us, as municipal leaders, the opportunity to say clearly and unequivocally, hate has no home in the District of North Van. It tells survivors of hate that we believe them. It tells those who spread intolerance that they will not be given space or silence. And it tells our entire community that we are committed to making North Vancouver truly inclusive for everyone. So as Pride Week approaches, let us match our celebration with action and not just wave the flag, but uphold the values it represents. Because a city that is free from hate is not only safer for marginalized people, it's stronger for all of us. So I invite our community to celebrate Pride Week as we raise the flag July 28th. And I urge council to endorse this pledge and commit to a North Vancouver where everyone belongs.
Very much. Councillor Back, your comments.
Thank you, Mayor Little, and I thank Councillor Pope for bringing the motion forward and for her introductory comments. I'm very happy to second and support this motion around an anti-hate pledge. Hate and discrimination still exists in our community, as was so eloquently highlighted by the speakers tonight. Sometimes in overt acts, but often in those more subtle, harmful ways that leave people feeling unwelcome and unsafe. This pledge is a clear and public statement that we reject all forms of hate and that we stand with those who are targeted because of who they are. This action also aligns with our role as a member of the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, which the District of North Vancouver joined over 5 years ago. And it's a national network of local governments like ours working to promote human rights, celebrate diversity, and foster respectful, inclusive communities. So as a coalition member, we've committed to addressing racism and discrimination in all forms, and this pledge reinforces that responsibility. So I believe this is about leadership and sending a message, especially ahead of Pride Week, as it's been highlighted, that everyone deserves to live, work, and belong in the District of North Vancouver without fear. So I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Back. Next, I have Councillor Ma.
Thank you for Councillor Pope for bringing this forward. I note that last Friday, Provincial Public Safety Minister Gary Begg announced an additional $734,000 for the RCMP anti-hate crime unit in the province, as police reported hate crimes rose by an average of 23% between 2022 to 2023. The report says that hate crimes related to religion rose by 51% during the same time, while crimes related to sexual orientations were up 43%. These stats are a source of concern, and we need to address this situation. So, I believe that council, by voluntarily taking this pledge, will show leadership in the district, and that we want people to know that the district is a welcoming place for all people who want to live in our society. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ma. Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Pope, for bringing the motion. Thank you to all of the council who've spoken. Perhaps especially from my perspective, thank you to the member of the public who came out, and to all of you who shared your perspective. And I am aware in my life that hate crime is on the rise, and obviously anything we can do to fight back is what we want to do. So thank you for bringing the motion. I'm happy to support, and onward and upward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to add my appreciation to Stephanie, who has come out many, many, many times to council and has kept us abreast and informed of what is happening out in the community that she sometimes has to face. But it's more than just that kind of hate that we are addressing by this motion. But I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Forbes. I see no further speakers, so I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Council. Okay. All right, we've completed the regular business of this evening's meeting. We have an opportunity for reports from council or staff. Checking to see, I think that's from before. I think the only report I'm going to make is about Canada Day this last week. We had a lot of fun celebrating, recognizing Canada Day. I was able to participate both down at Shipyards Square in the city of North Vancouver, where there was a very large crowd because it was also the start of Fleet Week. And it was great to see so many people engaged in the community there. And was also able to participate in the Pemberton Heights Community Association's Canada Day, which again is probably the best Canada Day event that takes place in the district. It was a lot of fun, lots of classic fun with the tug of war and foot races and all kinds of other games and activities, and looked like everybody was engaged, having an amazing time. So my hat is off to the members of the Pemberton Heights Community Association for organizing that in our community. Councillor Back, you have a report?
Thank you. Just briefly, I wanted to comment wearing my hat as the district council representative on the museum commission. Manova has a brand new exhibit, and along with Mayor Little, I was able to attend the exhibit opening last week. It's called Are We There Yet? The Sustainable Transportation Journey. It's the latest feature exhibit, which explores the ever-evolving landscape of urban transportation in North Vancouver. Lots of really interesting storytelling that happens in that exhibit. Lots of old transit pieces in there, and it's really well done. So I just want to encourage everyone to check it out down at the Manova down on Esplanade, the latest transportation exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ma.
Yeah, I just want to repeat Canada Day in Pembroke Heights. It's a very special community event, and thank you to yourself, Councillor Hanson, Councillor Pope, and Councillor Back for coming out and joining in the celebration. As always, the JP Pipe band was out there, and the crew from Fire Hall number 5 led the parade. So that was great, and it does take a lot of volunteers to do it. And there's a great crew. It was led by Kurt, Olivia, and Vanessa. They were the key organizers, so I want to give them a shout out. And then on Thursday, July 3rd, was the first night of the Live and Local, concert series, and it was at Lionsgate Plaza. Still Creek Band was there. It was a great night, and it's going to happen every Thursday and Friday throughout the district. So I hope people can get out for that. And then on Saturday, July 5th, was also the grand opening of the park at Bell Isle. So there's a lot of families out there. It's going to really bring the community together, and there was also free ice cream. So that's pretty cool. Okay, thank you.
The ice cream, yes, that was great. I will make one other one. First of all, the Belle Isle Park, it was great to see that completed and so many neighbors out enjoying the space, and the ice cream didn't hurt. We do have another significant milestone event this week. On Wednesday night, we'll be recognizing the 50th anniversary of Ron Andrews Rec Center, which, whenever I get a whiff of chlorine, my brain takes me back to sitting on the side of the pool at Ron Andrews as a little guy. That was my experience as a kid. I spent a lot of time in that pool. So to hear that facility is now 50 years old makes you take stock of where you're at. So we'll have that on Wednesday night. There will be a recognition for that at the facility. I believe the time for it is 6:30, and I hope to see people there. Council, I see no further reports. Okay, I believe we've completed the business of this evening's meeting. I will accept adjournment. Thank you, Councillor Forbes. All right, just want to say thank you very much to staff for preparing the reports for our consideration. Thank you to members of the public for sticking with us through the evening, and thank you, Council, for the decisions you made tonight. Everybody have a fantastic week. Good night.